very pleased.
Welcome to Speakers and Leaders Hour. My name is Dennis Osborn. I am a member of the Bob Lyman's Toastmaster Club, and I would actually like to introduce the host of the Toastmasters section of this evening's Toastmaster Parliamentarian Show, Mr. Tom Howler.
Hello. Welcome to everybody out there in TV land. Let me introduce on my left, Bob Norris. He's Toastmaster Division B Governor. And you've already met Dennis Osborn on my other side. He's the Bob Lyman Toastmaster Secretary. And to my far right, off of your screen right now, is Marlene Purdy. She's in charge of most everything that you'll ever want to meet or know about. Master Gardner, Toastmaster Parliamentarian Extraordinaire. We are delighted to have her with us tonight. Now, Dave Wilkins would ordinarily be doing this, and a much better job he would be doing, I'm sure, but he is in the hospital right now. We have every expectation that he will be back with us soon. We look forward anxiously to that. I believe now we will be going directly into a tape on the logo and banner. What was the club?
The Baer Field Toastmasters Club earlier last month celebrated their brand new banner with the new Toastmasters logo. And this here is a recording of that celebration, which should be starting soon. Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are having a special meeting tonight, and in honor of that, we're going to turn the clock back, you might say, and we're going to start by learning some of the Toastmaster history. Our first speaker has been a Toastmaster for the past 24 years. She loves history, so this is a good topic for her. She's going to be speaking on the birth of the Toastmaster emblem. She will guide us through the three revisions of the emblem, bringing us to its latest reincarnation in 2011. With her speech entitled The Origin of the Toastmasters Trademark, I'd like to introduce Bernice Wilkins.
Thank you, Linda. Fellow Toastmasters. Toastmasters actually started in 1924 in Santa Ana, California. There had been a Toastmasters Club before that in Illinois, but when the founder moved away, the club failed. In Santa Ana in 1924, the club took hold and just spread like wildfire, the Toastmaster idea. It was just wonderful. But that first club was just a small group of people. It wasn't an organization. It wasn't anything formal. The young men at the YMCA gave their speeches to each other. Some of them were students, some were businessmen. But it was a fabulous idea, but it wasn't a formal organization. 4 years later, that's all it took. The Toastmaster idea had just blossomed. It was everywhere. In 1928, they decided that they needed an emblem because now they had printed material. They had formal manuals to work from, and they wanted their emblem on there. They didn't want other organizations to use their material. But the founder decided it should be something quite simple. Just think of this. They didn't have copiers in those days, and it was very expensive to go to printers, so they mimeographed. Now, a lot of the young people won't know what that is, but it was purple ink. It was terrible. I worked with a mimeograph machine. Every time I used it, it seems like I would start to itch somewhere once I had the purple ink all over my hands. It was just terrible. That's what they had to use. So they wanted something that would be very simple to copy. And what the founder, Dr. Ralph Smedley, came up with was just a gavel, like standing up like this. And this is kind of strange, TC. I couldn't figure out what's that, but I guess it meant Toastmaster Club. was intertwined around the handle. And that's all it was. Very, very simple. 3 years later, they had gone international. And the members were clamoring to be recognized as a formal organization. And they wanted a registered trademark, something that would identify who they were and what they did. You would see that emblem, Toastmasters. Yes, you would know what that was. So they did have a conference. They had a meeting of all the clubs, of the presidents from all the clubs. That was on January 24th, 1931. They formed a committee to create an emblem, a trademark for the group, a registered trademark. Clarence Marshall and George Hedstrom are given credit for actually creating the emblem. And it was very similar to the one that you see here. There were slight differences. It was a circle with a countenance on it, but it didn't have the big T. It had the word Toastmasters here. And up here where it says Toastmasters, they had a Latin motto, and I can't pronounce it right, I'm sure. Oratus omnes, that meant all orators, is what it meant. And then down here it had international. It had the gavels. I always wondered what those were. Those are gavels. That's the head, and that's the end of the gavel. Crossed gavels. So it was very similar to this. The colors were blue and gold. That's what they came up with. And this was the emblem that they put on all their printed material. They came out with banners. They came out with little buttons that you could wear, little lapel pins that you could wear. So it really, really was a very popular thing. This went on until 1948, I believe. 1941. Sorry, it was 1941. They decided, I don't know why, to revise the emblem. They kept it very much the same, but that's when the big T appeared on the banner. They took the word Toastmasters off and put the big T on there. By then, it was such a recognized organization, really, they felt that was all they needed. But they took the Latin motto off the top and put the word Toastmasters there because it made more sense to go with the word international down here. Otherwise, it stayed the same. Now, Toastmasters have a penchant for staying with something that works. They liked this. Everybody recognized it. It was a nice thing. People at work might say, oh, what is that? Oh, I see Toastmasters, the T, tell me about it. So it was good advertising for the group. This emblem has been used since 1941, right up to today. About 70 years. Can you believe that we've used this emblem? Now, I noticed something, and I don't know if anybody else has ever noticed this. Every once in a while, we'll have material come out. I even had a lapel pin come out where the countenance were all colored in blue instead of being just outlined like this. And I looked and tried to find my pin that was like that. I wanted to show it to you, and I couldn't find it, naturally. Isn't that the way it always is? Then before I came to the meeting tonight, lo and behold, I opened the cover of my Competent Communicator Manual, and there it was. It had the countenance shaded in blue. And I don't know how that came about. I don't know why it's done both ways. But this, just outlined, is the actual way that it originally was meant to be since 1941. So it's been 70 years that we've had this emblem. And now, in the year 2011, the emblem is being revised again. It's being reincarnated, I guess you might say. And I have to tell you how proud I am to belong to Baer Field Toastmasters. As far as I know, it's the first club in Fort Wayne, Indiana, to actually have received their new banner, which I think you will be seeing in just a few minutes. And we will hear from another speaker about the new emblem and what it stands for and the changes that have been made. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Bernice. Well, now we're starting to get a taste of the changes that have been going on with our Toastmaster emblem. And to continue that, our next speaker, Mr. Dave Wilkins, will be speaking from the Basic Manual Project number 8, Get to the Point. And he's going to be sharing with us a little of the history of our banner to follow up on what we've already learned from Denise. The title of his speech, That Old Banner. I thought it was going to be That Old Banner of Mine. Anyhow, That Old Banner. Please welcome Mr. Dave Wilkins.
I have a singing pen. It's so neat. It's like one of those repetitive songs. I'm hearing a pen chant right now. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, thank you, Bernice. That was a great presentation on the early banner. But I want to talk about this particular banner right here, the Baer Field Toastmasters. Love banner. I joined in 1987, and as far as I knew, that was the only kind of banner that Toastmasters ever had. And of course, hearing that it goes back to 1941, a total of 70 years before there was any kind of a change, it is an awful long time ago. This banner was purchased before I joined Baer Field, and I can tell you that it has had some wear and tear. It's gone through a flood. There's water stains over here. We tried to dry clean them out and iron them out, but they're still there. According to my calculations, that banner has presided over 2,500 Toastmaster meetings for this club. Now that means there's been over 5,000 speeches given. Also probably something like 7,500 table topics. This club, and I realize now that the history of the Toastmaster banner for Baer Field is really and truly a history of Baer Field Toastmasters. And I'm proud to say I belonged to this club for a very long time. And in fact, over the last 25 years, at least 8 of those years, the division governor came from Baer Field Toastmasters. Also, during that time, 2 different full conference chairs and chair committees came out of the Baer Field Toastmasters. We've had countless area governors. We've gone through all different kinds of contests, all kinds of training sessions. At our other location, which was Atz's on Tillman Road, we hosted many, many events for the division and some even for the district, including officer training and also different varieties of contests. Baer Field Toastmasters is now the 4th oldest club in Fort Wayne. Unfortunately, the club that was 50 years of age just recently folded, and we're very sad about that. But that now leaves Baer Field Toastmasters to be the 4th oldest club. And we're behind the Smoky Montgomery Club, the Anthony Wayne Club, and of course the Bob Lyman Club. And then comes Baer Field. But all these years, Baer Field has been here, and it's been a very proud club, very dedicated to following the precepts and dictates and ideas and ideals that were set forth by Toastmasters International. We've always been a small group, but we have always been an extremely dedicated group. And I think that the group that we have right now is a very wonderful organization. And I applaud all of you for being a part of Baer Field Toastmasters. Give yourselves a hand. Madam Chairman, that's a little bit of the history of Baer Field banner.
Mr. Wilkins, how about if we flip this to see some of our ribbons?
You know, what we used to do, we don't do it anymore, but what we would do is we would display the ribbons from the time that we got here until 2 minutes before the meeting started. Then we would announce a 2-minute warning, flip the banner, and then be ready to begin the meeting. These are ribbons that have been won by the club over the years.
Well, I too am one who has a penchant for reminiscing, and so I appreciate hearing the history of our club, and I need to get your notes. And some of you're going to have to talk to me a little bit later then. Our final speaker and the gentleman who will be helping to dedicate our new banner is Mr. Bob Norris. He joined the Toastmasters in 2007. He is now a distinguished Toastmaster, belongs to 3 Toastmaster clubs in Fort Wayne, the Bob Lyman, the Fort Wayne Smoky Montgomery, and the Advanced Speakers and Leaders. He's currently our Division B governor, and he's doing a marvelous job, and Area 21 governor. And he recently announced his candidacy for Lieutenant Governor, I didn't hear that one, Lieutenant Governor of Marketing for 2012-13. Tonight he's speaking from the Competent Communication book, speech number 8, Get Comfortable with Visual Aids. His speech is titled, I Am the Logo, You Are the Logo. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Bob Norris.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters, I am the logo, you are the logo. And you might think, what in the world does he mean? Because this is actually the logo, the trademark, the brand, the new one. And congratulations to the Baer Field Club for being one of the first to get their new banner. We have the other banner, the previous logo up. You may notice some significant differences. We also have a copy of it here. One of the things Toastmasters has recognized, even more so than before, is we are a worldwide organization. Therefore, they brought in a new globe with the continents removed so that everyone is part of the crew. So that you don't have to look to see, here's North America, South America, or wherever. Everyone is part of one big, happy family. Part of the reason for this rebranding, this reissuing, the changing, you might call it a new coat of paint, is for consistency purposes. Any successful organization that continues to grow is consistent. Probably one of the most universally recognized logos, emblems, trademarks is the arches, right? Because we know that if you go to California, or if you go to New Jersey or New York, you go to Wisconsin or you go to Texas, you receive probably 95% of the same products and services that you would receive at anywhere in the country. Now, depending on the world and their taste, it may vary a little bit. But in the United States, one of the things with their logo is consistency. KFC is another one. Burger King, Starbucks, consistency. Well, a few years ago, Toastmasters International discovered we lost the message of consistency. For instance, when we would go to conventions, everyone would have a badge. But in some states, it would recognize their state. It'd be in that shape. For instance, Texas or Wisconsin. Now, I understand Texas doing it because they always say they do it bigger and better. But the key, again, is consistency in our message, in what we do, and how we appear. Because often when we travel, we'll go to different clubs. Because if you are a Toastmaster in one club, you are always welcome to visit another club. That's just part of Toastmasters. So they decided, what can we do to make the message more consistent? Again, the fresh coat of paint, or what I call it, or just changing it entirely. We are updating. We are also offering more webinars. But a big part is to get the message back to being consistent. The badges now all look the same. They have a different color on them to designate if you're a distinguished Toastmaster, if you are a member of a club, if you are a district officer. But the concept is consistency. We want to bring it in. They did one more thing. Most people join Toastmasters to become a more effective speaker. I know that's what I did. Toastmasters always, though, has had two legs, speaking and leading. Most people go, I don't necessarily want to be a leader. Well, you may get drug into it. Or you may just be part of what you have to do for your work, your church, or another organization. One consistent point with effective leaders. They're effective communicators. You can have somebody that has the best ideas in the world, but they cannot give those ideas to people because they don't know how to do it. They may give them a paper, say, read my report. I remember that. And you read their report and they're brilliant. But when they go to verbally communicate it, when they go to stand up in front of the group and say, I am the message of the company, they can't do it. Now we have the message here, we have the message on the badge, and we have the potential to be the message ourselves. Because I believe with the new Toastmasters emblem, the rebranding, the refreshing, we go much farther than just the logo. Each one of us as a Toastmaster is the logo. You are the logo. I am the logo. In our clubs, in our activities at the conferences, and in every time we appear somewhere, a church group, our business, a community function. Because what we do represents Toastmasters. Whether you dress up in a business suit or whether you dress casual. Whether you're doing a community function for your church or for maybe a community organization to help raise money. You are the logo. I am the logo. How we present ourselves, how we speak, how we listen. We've got 2 ears, 1 mouth. Toastmasters teaches us listening skills. We should share these. Because if we say, I'm a Toastmaster, and somebody says, wow, that person's a Toastmaster? Why would I join? We want them to say consistently, they're a Toastmaster? Wow, what a great communicator. What a great leader. This has to be a wonderful organization. And I want to know more. And I want to join. And again, the push is for consistency. So that businesses everywhere will recognize Toastmasters can help our business, our people, grow and become better. I know one person that got their job because on their resume it said Toastmaster since. I know another person that it has helped keep their job. And nowadays in this economy, we know we need a leg up in every business, in every organization, in every function. And Toastmasters gives us that opportunity. Now the consistency will be, if you go to California, you go to New York, you go to Michigan, you go to Texas, you will find a consistent message of how your organization is run. The structure will be there. And of course, you as Toastmasters, now or new, will have the opportunity to fill in the information you want to give. Because that's the beauty of Toastmasters. They'll tell you the ABCs, and then you fill it in. Ladies and gentlemen, be consistent. Be the new Toastmasters. Reflect the new logo. Madam Toastmaster.
Hello, and welcome back to the studio. We appreciate your being with us, and if you would like to call in, be a participant, the number is 422-3902. 422-3902. We look forward to hearing from you. Now we are going directly into another speech by none other than Bob Norris. He is a distinguished Toastmaster who joined Toastmasters in 2007. He is now Division B Governor and Area 21 Governor. He is also President of the Bob Lyman Club here in Fort Wayne. He also belongs to the Smoky Montgomery Club, the Advanced Speakers and Leaders Club, and drum roll, he has announced his candidacy for Lieutenant Governor of Marketing for 2012-13. Tonight he is speaking from the Competent Communication book, speech number 4, How to Say It. His speech title is, I Don't Understand Why. I Don't Understand Why, by Bob Norris. Help me welcome Bob.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and most honored guests at home. I don't understand why. Once upon a time, there was a man who did not understand Christmas. He wasn't a Scrooge. He wasn't a Grinch. He wasn't a bad person. He actually was a kind and decent person with his dealings for the community and for the family and for those around him. But he just did not believe all that stuff about a divine being becoming incarnated as a human. And that's what churches proclaim at Christmas. They talk about God being born into a human. He was talking with his wife on several times, and they would get into some discussions, and she would try to persuade him. And he'd say, honey, I'm sorry to distress you, but I simply don't understand why. People who have this claim that God became man. It doesn't make any sense to me. I can't understand, don't understand, why a supreme being would take on the form of a mere human. One Christmas Eve, his wife and children decided they would go to an early church service. And of course, she chided him to go along. But he declined as usual because he said, I'd feel like a hypocrite. He said, I'd rather stay at home, but you take the kids and I'll wait up for you. And by the way, it looks like a storm is brewing, so please take the four-wheel drive so you're safe. And shortly after his family drove away, the snow did begin to start falling, and it was coming down heavier and heavier. And he looked around and thought, well, if it's going to snow, it will give us a nice white Christmas. He went to the window and he watched. The flurries were coming down heavier and heavier. And he thought, I'm glad I'm not going out there. I think I'll just sit in my chair, read the paper, and turn on some television. He got himself comfortable in the chair, made himself just snugly comfortable. And all of a sudden he heard a thud, 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 thud on the window. And he thought, I'll bet it's those darn neighbor kids with snowballs. Thud, thud, thud. He got up and looked out the window, didn't see anything. So he sat down. Thud, thud, thud. All right, that's it. I'm going to tell those kids off. So he went to the door, and he opened the door, and there were no kids. But what he did see was a group of birds huddling and shivering in the snow. They had become lost and saw the window, didn't realize it was a window because they're birds, and tried to fly in. And they bounced off, and now we're stuck in the snow. And he thought, oh, those poor birds. They're going to freeze out in this weather. What could I do to help them? Oh, I know. We have the barn in the back where we keep our child's pony. I'll get them back there. It's warm, it's dry, and safe. So he put on his coat, scarf, his galoshes, and he trucked out to the barn, opened the door up. Come on, birds. He tried to gather them around, but they all sat there and just looked at him. Well, they're birds. I know. I'll get some bread, some breadcrumbs. So he comes out. You give them the bread. They'll follow it in as food. So he puts the breadcrumbs out. And they still sat there looking at him. Well, these stupid birds, what's the matter with them? I'm trying to lead them into a safe place. I don't understand why they won't go for the food. So he went around and he started chasing them around, and they went everywhere but into the barn. Now he's becoming frustrated. It's getting colder, the snow is picking up, the wind is picking up, and he's thinking, why won't these birds follow me? I don't understand why they won't follow me. Maybe they think I'm some kind of terrible creature that's here to hurt them. But I'm not. I'm just trying to lead them to the light. I'm trying to give them food. I'm trying to save them. He tried this for a few more minutes, chasing them around, and it was fruitless. Put more bread out. Nothing. They all scattered, still shivering, still in the cold. He knew they were going to die if he didn't do something. And he thought, I don't understand. How could I make them understand that I don't want to hurt them? And then he thought, if there was only some way I could be a bird for an hour, or for just a minute, or 5 minutes, I could make them understand. I didn't want to hurt them. I'm only here to help them. I'm only here to try and save them. Just then, he heard the church bells in the distance peal, giving their message of Christmas, the birth of Christ, the birth of God incarnate in human form. He sank to his knees in the snow. Tears rolled down his eyes. And he looked up and he said in a whisper, "Now I understand. Now I understand why you had to do what you did." Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Bob. Why don't you maintain your position there? And you are, after all, our governor, so why don't you give us any last-minute updates that you might have for us?
Well, we do have some exciting news coming up for Division B. We have our officers training coming up on the 28th of January. This will be our second portion of officers training. And of course, we will be having our table topics and our international speech contest coming up. Our area contests will be in February, which will be the 18th. We will be here at the downtown Allen County Public Library, not in this room, but we will be here. This will be a fun time, an enjoyable time, and I should also mention, for those of you at home and in the audience that might like to join us, it's free. You can come and hear some great speeches. Table Topics is about thinking on your feet. When you're given a question and you have to come up with an answer. And both of these contests at the area level will be on February 18th. We will then do the division contests on March 31st, which will then, the winners of those will then go on to our district contest. We also have some great clubs in Fort Wayne that you should all be considering if you would like to be a better presenter and a better speaker. One of the key things about being an effective leader is that effective leaders are effective speakers. Was there anything that you would like to add, Mr. Howler?
Excuse me, I believe you've covered it very nicely. And on that note, we will go to some announcements and come back with the parliamentary half of our meeting. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much. And now for our next speaker, Stanley Litzner.
Speaking in public doesn't have to be a death sentence. At Toastmasters, we can help you overcome your fears.
I'd like to begin tonight with a little joke. This guy, he's a farmer. He says, "Hey, hello, sorry." But seriously, folks.
Speaking in public is no joke.
Doctor says, chicken says.
For help, call Toastmasters, the public speaking support group.
The chicken.
All the education in the world won't help you get ahead in life if you can't express your ideas effectively. Every day, competition for advancement gets tougher and tougher. You need an edge. A Toastmasters club can give you that edge. A low-cost learning experience for men and women. Toastmasters gives you the confidence to express your ideas to anyone. Get the Toastmasters edge.
What future do you envision for yourself? What dreams do you have? If you want your dreams to come true, you must have confidence in yourself and your abilities. A Toastmasters Club can help you build that confidence. A low-cost learning experience for men and women. Toastmasters shows you how to express yourself clearly and effectively. Make your dreams a reality. Join a Toastmasters Club.
Welcome back to the Speakers and Leaders Hour. My name is Dennis Osborn. I am the president of the Bob Lyman's chapter number 33 of the American Institute of Parliamentarians. We are a club that meets meets monthly here at the Allen County Public Library, and we review and discuss the Robert's Rules of Order, which is considered to be one of the governing rules of effectively running a meeting. Tonight we will be discussing Roberts eventually, and I am new to this, so please excuse me. Normally, Dave Wilkins would be here, but he is currently, as stated earlier, in the hospital. We do expect him to be coming back soon. This evening, we will be conducting an interview with Marlene Purdy. Actually, she will be doing the interviewing us. But first, she actually has a short editorial commentary that she would like to give for us. Marlene Purdy is a member of the Bob Lyman's chapter of the American Institute of Parliamentarians and an at-large member of the NAP, which is the National Association of Parliamentarians. She has been a parliamentarian for over 10 years and has served as a parliamentarian at state and national conventions. In addition, she has done numerous workshops on parliamentarian procedure. Tonight, she is presenting an editorial comments regarding the benefits of the knowledge of parliamentarian procedure. Marlene Purdy.
Thank you, Dennis. Whenever someone mentions parliamentary procedure, many people end up with that glazed deer-in-the-headlights look. However, there is a practical reason for the existence of parliamentary procedure. We all recognize how children want and need boundaries to feel confident. Sports teams need rules to avoid conflicts. Likewise, meetings need rules or guidelines to protect the rights of all members. This is the foundation of Robert's Rules of Order. I would like to share a story that was a favorite of the late Bill Cartwright, who was one of the founders of this show. He was a parliamentarian and served as president of his local town council. He was proud that their meetings were productive and efficient. Once, at a meeting of other government officials, someone in a similar position remarked that their council meetings went on for hours. Upon questioning, the other gentleman acknowledged that they did not follow a written agenda. Bill's quick response was, that was the reason. By following proper parliamentary procedures, meetings can be handled much more efficiently. I see a number of steps that can lead to success in this area. Step number 1, members should always have copies of the organization's written, adopted bylaws. Number 2, these bylaws need to be reviewed on a regular basis and updated as necessary. 3, the officers should be well informed regarding proper parliamentary procedure, and having official parliamentarian for major meetings would be appropriate. Follow an adopted agenda for each meeting. Provide the membership with some basic parliamentary procedure protocols to assist in the smooth transaction of business. Number 6, always remember that the purpose of proper parliamentary procedure is to protect the rights of all members. One example would be that it takes a 2/3 vote to cut off debate, allowing for additional discussion if the issue is not clearly decided. In order to advance the study of parliamentary procedure, both the American Institute of Parliamentarians and the National Association of Parliamentarians were formed. NAP back in 1930 and AIP in 1958. Both organizations recognize Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised, as their parliamentary authority. However, AIP also devotes some time to the study of the Standard Code of Parliamentary Procedure, which is a lesser-known source. Through study of parliamentary procedure, the members become knowledgeable in the various nuances of parliamentary procedure and are then able to provide guidance to organizations as needed. Locally, our members have served as in an advisory capacity to homeowners associations, church and civic groups, as well as serving as parliamentarian for conventions at the state, regional, and national level. While there are no NAP units in Fort Wayne, the Bob Lyman chapter of AIP is active in studying the issues involved with parliamentary procedure. Anyone interested in obtaining more information regarding the local chapter actually probably can contact Dennis, who is our president, or I'd be more than willing to discuss the issue with anybody who has questions. You can reach me at 492-2653 or by email at maplap63@comcast.net. I believe everyone involved in any type of organization should have a firm grasp of parliamentary procedure. Mr. Moderator.
Thank you very much, Marlene. As you said earlier, when people hear Robert's rules and the procedures, their eyes glaze over. While a little bit ago, I had the deer in the headlights eyes on myself. I introduced myself, but I failed to introduce the rest of the people on the panel. To my right is Marlene Purdy, member of AIP. To my left is Tom Haller, also a member of AIP. And to the far left is Bob Norris. While he is not a member of
yet.
Correct. We're working on it. He is not a member yet. He is not a member of AIP currently, but he often expresses ideas and questions that is very helpful for us to examine Robert's Rules and Procedures from different points of view. And I welcome all of us here together. Now, Marlene, you had actually more questions about Robert's Rules that you wanted to ask some parliamentarians. Well, me and Tom are here, and we will gladly try to answer your questions.
Okay, thank you very much. My first question, and I want both of you to answer this, why did you first join? First of all, when did you join, and why did you join the Bob Lyman chapter of the American Institute of Parliamentarians? Tom?
Well, I am one of the newer members. I joined probably, you're asking a man that can't remember what he had for breakfast, probably a year and a half ago or so. One of the primary reasons I joined is because Dave Wilkins kept asking me. Dave is a hard man to turn down. And it's also rather fascinating to know how meetings work. I have far too often been in Toastmaster positions, particularly where I was a leader and put my foot in my mouth because I didn't know how properly to conduct myself as president, and people in the audience were correcting me. It's good that somebody knew what was going on, but it's really better when the leader has some idea what's going on.
I started as a member of AIP at the beginning of 2010. I learned about both Toastmasters and parliamentarianism by being a camera operator on this here very television show. Month after month, I sat behind the camera and listened to what was being said. I thought to myself, this might be very interesting. And when I actually started reading about Robert's Rules, it resonated with me as a former computer operator and how logical the rules were. And that's the reason why I eventually joined Parliament AIP Chapter 33, and now I'm the president of the club.
Okay, very good. My second question, what have you found to be the most beneficial aspect of belonging to the chapter?
There are so many beneficial aspects to it. In all seriousness, I find it hard to delineate just one. This may not be what you were looking for or expecting, but quite frankly, getting to know people such as yourself and Dennis Wilkins, the late Bill Cartwright, getting to know these people better and associating with them has been a very important part of this to me. As I indicated earlier, I seem to have a habit of becoming president of one club or another. This is not due to any great ability. It's one of those things, if you're not careful, it happens to you. But it's really a good idea to be able to conduct a meeting properly. And knowing how to do it is, well, it's just an enormous benefit. It's an enormous benefit to me. I'm a lot more comfortable. It's an enormous benefit to those that I'm, quote, presiding over. It just makes life a lot easier, smoother, and better.
I agree with Tom. By learning the procedures, I now understand what is happening in the meetings that I do attend. I was raised in a church that had a monthly business meeting, and as a child, it was just something I skipped out on because none of what they were saying made any sense to me at that time. And now they have business meetings here at family reunions, and they all use parliamentarian procedure, whether they know exactly what they are doing or not. Learning the actual rules of what is and is not, what is actually in this here book, and what is actual common myths, which we may later talk about if we have time, it was very educational to learn these things.
I know one of the things that I always find the downside of knowing parliamentary procedure. When you go into a meeting being conducted by somebody who has no knowledge of parliamentary procedure, it's like fingernails on the blackboard because you get very frustrated because they're not being very efficient and they're not protecting the rights of all the members, because that's the basic purpose of parliamentary procedure. Moving right along, what happens at a typical meeting?
First, we have the business meeting, which first thing we do is read and approve the agenda. It's extremely important, as you mentioned in your editorial. We cover anything, the unfinished business, new business, and then we take a short break, and then we actually get into the meat of the meeting, which is talking about the parliamentarian procedures. Now, we have recently, in September, late September, the new Robert's Rules, the 11th edition, came out, and we all received a new copy of it, versus the old 10th edition, which has been around for past 11 or 12 years. The newer edition covers things such as holding meetings on the internet and applies the new technology to the old concepts in the original book. And we are going over some of the changes, but mostly it is concentrating on what is in there, what we all already know, and looking at it in different ways as the way the changes in here might affect what we already know.
Okay, Tom?
I agree completely. We do all those things. Those things are very important. One thing which we don't do all the time, just as called upon to do, is have a guest, perhaps somebody who's just been elected chairman of their housing addition association, something like that, and they have questions, and we go over these questions, and we help them to come to some understanding of parliamentary procedure. These people are obviously people who are wanting to do it right and wanting to be efficient in their meetings, not wanting them to go on all night long, not wanting to offend anybody, but yet at the same time letting the majority have the final say. And this is a very fun thing to do. We also, if I might borrow your book, this is a sea change for me. I went through all of my life not understanding why anybody would name a book this, why anybody would buy a book that had such an offensive title as Robert's Rules for Dummies. But the fact of the matter is, it's a very efficient study guide. We use it very well. It quickly covers a lot of territory, and you very soon have a much better understanding of parliamentary procedure than you do without that book. So that's another thing we do, which is of great benefit to us. Mostly, we study and learn. We also practice. Now, if you were to visit us and didn't want to do this, we obviously couldn't force you, have no interest in forcing you, but we do take turns presiding at meetings and having pretend problems. I don't know how many times we voted to paint the walls a different color of the library. The library's in no danger. We have no funds to buy paint and no desire to lift a paintbrush. But nonetheless, we have a great desire to learn how better to conduct business. And that's what we study. That's what we do.
And I might add that in addition to this book, we started this one after we had gone through, there is a certification manual. And the certification manual has a whole bunch of study questions that are necessary for certification as a registered parliamentarian or a professional registered parliamentarian. And so by going through the study guide, the questions are ones that actually prepare you for certification. I was part of the National Association of Parliamentarians before I became a member of AIP, and we had to actually take a test before we could even become a member. Mm-hmm. And so that was an interesting phenomenon.
One other thing that we have is from Tom's and I's earlier description, it sounds like all we do is study is we have a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of laughter at these here club meetings, and it is fun coming to these here meetings.
And along with that, what about guests?
We love to have guests. That was not a hardball question. There's nothing we like better than to have guests. The public is invited anytime they want to come. They're more than welcome. We're just hams. We like to have people to educate, to spread the word, and they're just super more than welcome.
The word guest to me implies that you need to know somebody in the club before coming. That is not true. We gladly accept walk-ins. We welcome them with open arms. Come by and learn things.
Many people believe that parliamentary procedure is very boring. I have several sisters that keep reminding me of that. How would you respond?
Oh, I would love to respond to that. That is exactly and precisely backwards. What is boring, and believe me, it is very boring, is to be at a meeting where they do not understand parliamentary procedure, and they just go on and on. And I've spoken before in this format about a meeting I went to years ago. They got caught in a loop. As far as I know, they're still there. And this was years ago. There was no way to end the meeting. There was no way to resolve it with their limited understanding of what they were doing. And that was long before I was a Toastmaster, let alone a parliamentarian. Believe me, I would have jumped up and helped them had it wasn't to happen now. They finally took pity on those of us that had nothing in the meeting and let us go. But when you see errors being made, it's like Marlene said earlier, and this happens as a Toastmaster too. You may know that the speech is kind of annoying if you don't know anything about being a Toastmaster, but once you know something about being a Toastmaster, and people do annoying things, then it's really super annoying. And it's much the same thing with parliamentary. If you don't know any better, it just is generally boring. But if they're doing things that they ought not be doing, it can become really, really frustrating. That's what's annoying, and that's what's boring, is going to a meeting where it's not going right, it goes on and on forever, people's rights are not protected, somebody's the big dog and he's got to have it his way. No, that's annoying.
Dennis?
What was the original question again? I'm sorry.
Many people believe that parliamentary procedure is boring. How would you respond?
Thank you. As Dave Wilkins has said before, the way things are stated in Robert's Rules may seem archaic, but there is, if you think about it and consider different ways of doing things, these here alternative ways are even worse. What is in this here book, what we learn at our meetings, is the best way of doing things. It may sound archaic, but if you use the phrases constantly enough and it automatically comes off to you, you don't have to sit there and think about what you're going to say. what you hear is what you need to, and you understand what is required in the next steps of the meeting. So it is not archaic or boring. It is very interesting, and it's the best way of doing things, and they've been working on this here manual for close to 150, 180 years, something like that. Very, very long time.
And I might add that a lot of people wonder about Robert's and thinking that it's referring to a first name of Robert's Rules of Order. Actually, it was started by Henry Robert without the S, and so if you'll notice on Robert's Rules of Order, it's Robert, meaning Henry Robert, apostrophe S. So it's referring to his, and I think his son was involved in his grandson.
And grandson now.
So it's come down, and the family still continues to be involved in it. Bob, you're not a parliamentarian, but I do know that you have picked up on some of the things because you had to listen to me on occasion. And what are some of the things that you've picked up on just in being part of the panel? You've been here for the Toastmaster part, but you've had to listen to the parliamentarians part. What are some things that you've picked up over the time?
Robert's Rules of Order through the parliamentary procedure gives an opportunity to run a meeting in a structured way. It reduces any chaos to a minimum, and it's repetitive, so it can be reproduced here or it can be reproduced around the world. And it basically helps to have a better ordered meeting, more structure, paying attention to all of those who have a vested interest in that meeting, just like at our club meetings. And you have something that when you go somewhere and you know that the people in charge are using the procedure, that it's going to run effectively and efficiently instead of being a free-for-all.
Final comment then. Where and when does the Bob Lyman chapter meet?
The Bob Lyman chapter, the American Institute of Parliamentarians, meets on the third Monday of the month here in the Allen County Public Library, main branch. We are currently meeting in the Globe Room, which is a room behind basically it's the great big globe in the great big hall running down the library. We are coming to the end of the show, and I would like to invite everybody back to the Speakers and Leaders Hour next month, January 3rd. That is the first Tuesday of the month, and at 7 p.m. live here on Access Fort Wayne. And in closing, I would like to thank the crew who is assisting us in producing this show. We have Paul Brandt and Bob Hunter on cameras. We have Rochelle Shields on audio, and our fantastic producer, Elizabeth Lord. Thank you all, and please come back for next month's show.
Thank you.